The trade war between the US and Canada has officially gone nuclear. Canada just slashed its softwood lumber exports to America. And now, the US is staring down a full-blown lumber shortage. Canada used to cover nearly 30% of America's softwood demand. Last year alone, they shipped over 28 million cubic meters of lumber, worth $58 billion. Canadian lumber has always been cheaper than US-made wood, thanks to their efficient forests and lower production costs. But after Trump's tariffs hit, everything changed. In 2024, Canadian lumber sold between $330 and $1,500 per thousand board feet. Meanwhile, American-made lumber hovered around $427, higher than most imports. Tariffs on Canadian lumber now sit at 14.54%, and experts say they can nearly double to 27% by year's end. That means building costs are set to skyrocket. The National Association of Home Builders warns that lumber prices could jump 25%. A new home might cost you $8,000 more, if not more than $30,000 extra in total. To fight back, Canada's considering hard export limits. If they pull the plug, the US could face a massive supply crunch. And the rest of the world? They just don't have the volume to fill the gap. Sweden, Germany, Chile, they're small players compared to Canada. And while the US does have some domestic lumber production, it's nowhere near enough to meet demand. So while America struggles to keep up, Canada's finding new buyers. Thanks to deals with Europe and Asia, Canadian wood is headed elsewhere, without those nasty tariffs. Even better for Canada. They're shifting to high-value exports like furniture and plywood. More profits. Less raw lumber dependency. Smart move. But here's the twist, Trump's tariffs, meant to protect American jobs, might actually destroy them. The WTO says US manufacturers are losing their edge due to higher production costs. Construction projects are already slowing down. Prices are rising. Infrastructure delays are piling up. And the worst may be yet to come. On August 1st, the US will hit all Canadian imports with a 35% tariff. That's not just lumber. That's everything. Metals, food, machines, fertilizer. And it's not random. Trump says it's Canada's failure to stop fentanyl. But this blanket tariff could break the supply chain both countries have relied on for decades. American industries, from autos to agriculture, depend on Canadian inputs. They cross the border multiple times during production. Tariffs will break that flow and jack up costs. Steel, aluminum, copper, some items will face a 50% tariff. Companies will either stockpile goods or raise prices. Either way, US competitiveness takes a hit. And farmers? They're in trouble too. Fertilizer, animal feed, replacement parts, all coming from Canada, will now cost a fortune. Some farms may not survive. Canada sends 3.7 million tons of fertilizer to the US every year. Nearly half of US farm equipment is also Canadian. Tariffs will crush the ag sector. Worse yet, Canada could hit back. US soybean, beef, and grain exports to Canada, worth billions, could be next. American farmers will lose their second biggest market overnight. Without those exports, farmers face stockpiles, price drops, and possible bankruptcy. All while consumer prices jump by $2,300 a year per household. By 2028, American incomes could drop by 1%. GDP might shrink. Unemployment could climb past 5%. That's no small dip. That's the start of a recession. And with the US dollar falling while the Canadian dollar rises, things are only getting worse. American imports cost more. Businesses suffer. Families tighten budgets. Now Canada is drawing a firm line. No more friendly neighbor discounts. 71% of Canadians have stopped buying American goods. At the border, it's a ghost town. Traffic at Peace Bridge dropped 12% in 1 month. Rainbow Bridge saw a stunning 33% decline. Erie County, New York, lost $5 million in taxes almost instantly. Border towns depended on Canadian shoppers for up to 70% of weekend revenue. Now it's gone. Why? US goods are too expensive. The Canadian dollar doesn't go far. And with better options at home, Canadians aren't crossing anymore. Retailers like Target and Walmart are bleeding. Tech stores are empty. Souvenir shops are shutting down. Even farmer sales dropped 6.7%. People would rather order online or shop local. And with 140,000 US jobs at risk and up to $6 billion in lost tourism revenue, the pain runs deep. It all started with a 3% digital tax on tech giants operating in Canada. Trump's response: pull out of trade talks and slap a 50% tariff on US imports. Canada didn't flinch. They responded with their own 50% tariff on $22 billion in US metals. Cold-rolled steel, aluminum, prices spiked instantly on global markets. Why does that matter? Because Canadian factories are part of Detroit's car building machine. US steel goes to Canada, becomes parts, then comes back. Tariffs on steel broke that chain. American automakers like Ford now face $850 more in production costs per truck. And with Toyota and Hyundai unaffected, US brands lose their edge. This isn't just a trade fight. It's a calculated economic punch to the gut. And thousands of jobs in states like Ohio and Pennsylvania are at risk. And it's not over. Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill proposes slashing $1.1 trillion from healthcare, cutting off 16 million Americans from insurance. That means $22,800 in new medical debt for many. And $50 billion more in debt across the nation. Families will go bankrupt. Lives will be ruined. Even billionaires like Elon Musk are calling it a disaster. Because when Americans lose coverage, they stop spending. And when spending stops, jobs vanish. This is more than policy, it's people's lives. And if this keeps going, it could push the US economy into a deeper, longer crisis. Don't let this story stay untold. If you found this eye-opening, hit that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to the Untold Compass for more hard-hitting updates. Share this video, because the economic storm is just beginning.